Okay. Boom, ba-dum, boom, boom, dun, 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 dun. What's happening, humans? AJ here, punk poet, desperate violation of human evolution and living nightmare. This is Punk Poetry 103 Debrief. So we've come to the point where I'm starting to get into the flow of doing YouTube videos and what have you. I'm going to try and cut down the time a little bit just so it works on Instagram a bit better. I've got 15 minutes, so I'm going to try and get through this as fast as possible. So, a couple of honourable mentions at the start. Dame Mage, she's been giving me a load of like positive stuff recently. We've been having a bit of a chat and what have you. I call her Dame because I introduced the idea that I wanted to become a lord, and there's a wonderful little loophole in British law, and I'm going to get it for myself for Christmas, so I'll be Lord AJ by the end of the year, which is going to be absolutely epic. Just for shits and giggles, to be fair. So that's Kate Briley, wonderful poet. Check her out on Instagram. Mage444 I think is a handle on there. So definitely check her out. And also a big shout out to Philip Carmen, published poet. Lovely gentleman, absolutely lovely gentleman, and for such a lovely gentleman, he writes some really dark stuff, and I love my dark stuff, so definitely check him out on Instagram, and also on Amazon. Pick up one of his books because his poetry is absolutely beautiful. So go through what I've been up to today. I've been doing a lot more sort of English study recently because I've been doing these analyses. So I've learned some really cool terms, and it's stuff that I've sort of passed by sort of in my linguistic adventure over the years through school and university, and I'm sort of starting to branch out into more sort of complex terms and what have you, and I've learned some really cool ones, and they're going to come out today. I've had to learn these because of the poem that I'm reading, because the person I'm reading a poem from is a rather eloquent and very, very clever writer, so I've literally had to learn new terms to actually stumble through the poetry that she sent me. I've been working on home decor as well. I'm not going to go too much into my personal life, but I've had a lot of sort of ups and downs over the years, and I was suffering from major downs, and I got to the point where I just didn't care about where I lived or what I was doing with my personal space. So as you can see, I've pimped it up Goth style, so it's looking really, really nice. Got some new bedding, so I've got a sofa bed, and I've got that pimped out to the extremes. But I had to buy a pillow specific because I did not check the dimensions, and I'm going to show you said pillow now. This thing is massive. This is the biggest pillow I've ever seen in my life. I could curl up like a cat on this thing, and I would be quite happy. And it's feather pillow, and it's lovely, and it's smushy, and it's Gothic arches, that sort of Baroque feel. Absolutely love it. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, and you really should follow me on Instagram because there's so much more stuff on there, I'd really like you to check out. I've got a sort of a prompt contest going on at the moment to celebrate getting 666 followers, the number of the beast, and it started a day or so ago, and I set the time for it for 6 days, 6 hours, 6 minutes. So it's a very strict sort of timing for that. So if you want to jump in on that, if you have a check out of my Instagram account, A.J.WBeese, you can definitely check out the competition, and it's a really good way of getting writers to connect and what have you, and I get to see your works, and it'd be really fun to sort of go through your stuff, because I love reading poetry, and I've already had some really nice submissions, and just be as creative as possible. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to move on to TBellas' poem, She goes by mylife.inpoetry on Instagram, and it's a poem called Liquified. And like I said, I've had to learn new terminology to tackle this. It is very clever, so I'm going to do my best to sort of break it down after I've read the poem out. So without further ado, I'm going to go through the poem itself. It's a 4-stanza, and I'll work on that in a minute, because there is something there that I don't know if she's done it intentionally, but I'm going to show you the world of numerology via this poem, and I've never done that before in one of my videos, in any of my videos, sorry. Here we go. A guttural scream, geysered from my being, ravaging and ripping me, eviscerating my sanity. My lungs collapsing, I was staggering, life unraveling before my eyes. My cry, a sordid sound unknown, pinned me to the planks below. I began liquefying into the crevices and cracks that drank my soul. Why? I asked, the cruel, cunning master of mine. Would you take my heart, my eyes, my mind, and leave me behind, bloody, baseless, and blind? He did not answer, so I screamed some more and continued to sink, to seep into the floorboards, until at last I was finally uncongealed, a captured prisoner of war. You can tell that this is a person that's studied English for their entire life. I'll dissect it properly in a minute, but what you're going to hear now is a sort of a debased analysis of something that is extremely clever, extremely clever. It's very rare I get to read poetry like this. So, okay, I'm going to start at the top. Liquified is the title, and throughout you get the idea of liquid. It's been a lot of liquid recently, actually, in a lot of poetry I've been reading. So it seems to be Pirate Month or Sea Month. I'm gonna have to check the sort of the star charts and see why there's so much liquid going on in poetry at the moment. But you've got geysered in there. You've also got drank. The word liquefying is repeated in there. Bloody, and blood is a liquid, and sinking and seeping. So you've got that liquidity throughout, and you've also got the idea that it's a fluid rhyming scheme as well. So she doesn't just fit to sort of standard sort of Victorian Shakespearean style rhyming schemes. She uses lots of different rhyming schemes to produce the effect, but it works so well. Love this one, absolutely love this one. So I've had to do this in a rather sort of chaotic way, because it is chaotic. The accent she uses, the alliteration she uses, the stanza sort of formation and all these sort of things, it is liquefied. It like the whole thing is liquefied. It's as if she's just taken a load of sort of linguistic terms and whacked them in a blender, and hopefully as I go through you'll understand why that is the case. So I'm going to do it stanza per stanza. So you've got 4 stanzas in there. First one is about physical loss and mental loss. So you've got ravaging and ripping me, eviscerating my sanity, so that's the mental side gone. My lungs collapsing, I was staggering, life unraveling before my eyes. So you've got that physical and mental loss there, and you've also got that assonance. You've got the assonance of ing, and ing is a rather interesting one because it changes a verb into well, it's an inflected form of verb, and it's the present participle, so it's happening now. It's happening now, and that first stanza sort of runs a sort of general theme throughout the whole thing of having a body and lack thereof as the poem goes on. Then you've got the second. Sorry, that first stanza has 8 lines in it. Okay, I'll go through all the numbers in a minute. Then you've got the second stanza, My cry, yet again, we're looking at liquid, we're looking at tears. And you've got I always find it really hard to say sibilant. You've got the sibilant alliteration through this one. A sordid sound, crevices and cracks, soul. You've got this throughout, and sibilant is, I think I've mentioned it before, it's a breathless form, so you're losing breath. So slowly but surely, those lungs collapsing, you're struggling to breathe, and that's the way it goes through. And then you've got the last line of it is that last lines is into the crevices and cracks that drank my soul, and that's the spiritual loss. So you've got physical and mental loss, and then you've got spiritual loss. So the soul is starting to be absorbed into those floorboards. Then we move on to the third stanza, which is a querent. I like using this in a poem. It normally works really well either at the very top or sort of just towards the end. So what you do is you ask a question either to the reader or to a character within the poem, and it's a really nice way of getting that idea that you're asking the question and the person is thinking. So whilst they're reading, they're thinking at the same time. So it creates this wonderful little loop, this sort of fourth wall scenario, and it's really good. So you've got, why, I asked the cruel cunning master of mine, would you take my heart, my eyes, my mind, and leave me behind, bloody, baseless and blind? So this one's again physical and mental loss, so you've got that reflected, so 1 and 3, so you've got your odd numbers there, so they're reflecting each other. This is another idea of another usage of alliteration. So you've got bilabial plosive, and bilabial is when you use B's and in a sort of repetitive tone, but it's the idea of your lips pressed together, b, b, b. So it goes back to the lungs collapsing, losing that breath, and I mean this MC is getting suffocated as the poem goes on. It's really, really dark. So you've got bloody, baseless and blind, and not just those lips pressed together, meaning that into the next stanza, you've got he did not answer. So you put your lips together, you can't speak. So you're in this silent world where everything's melting away. Absolutely everything's melting away. And you've got scream some more, continue to sink, to seep into the floorboards, until at last I was finally uncongealed and a captured prisoner of war. So after all of that, the body's gone, the soul has gone, the mind has gone, and all that's left is this voice that can't be heard. And bang on, loved it, absolutely loved it. And it is literally the breaking of the soul, breaking a person down physically, mentally and spiritually. I said I was going to do numerology on this one. So we've talked about unconscious writing before, and the idea of creativity is, I mean, it depends on how you write. You can be just a straightforward writer, you know your shit, you can write here, there and everywhere. You can use all of the technical terms as much as possible, and you can write it down cleverly. But I believe in spirituality, and I don't expect everyone to. But the numerology in this is so clever. I don't think this is what she was going for, but TBella, if you enjoy this line, you'll blow your own mind by this and the subconscious that you're putting into it. So, like I said, you've got different numbers of lines in stanzas. So you've got an 8-line stanza, a 6-line stanza, a 5-line stanza, and a 6-line stanza. So all those added together is 25. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 stanzas, so 4 times 25 is 100. In numerology, 100 is an extremely powerful number. That's the reason we use it in percentages. That's the reason it's a very prominent number. You see the number 100. It is. I mean, there's even an emoji that is 100. Basically, it's to do with unity. So you've got the unity of the two zeros, and if you put two zeros together, they make that sideways 8, which is infinity. And also, what it means in numerology is new beginnings, fresh starts, and it's positive and optimistic, which this poem is not. So it's an antithesis to that. So yeah, that really freaked me out once I read it, and I just had to add it in. Anyway, like I said, I'm trying to keep these short. So TBella, mylife.inpoetry on Instagram, definitely check her out. Last little things. Yesterday I promoted my friend Charlie's YouTube channel, and I'm going to try my best to promo as many sort of independent channels as possible, but I don't know too many independent channels, so please send me your channels if you've got one, and I will definitely drop some stuff down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into I'll do one channel at a time. So I love history, I really love history, and I've learned a lot of history, and well, a lot of stuff, and I always have a good giggle. I love to laugh as well. But my favourite channel at the moment for history is Watcher. It's a small team. They used to be on BuzzFeed, but it's Ryan Bergara and Shane Madej and Stephen K. Lim, and they come up with this very sort of alternative channel, which I love to bits. And my favourite playlist of theirs at the moment is Puppet History, and it is the most abusive panel show I've ever seen. You've got a puppet called the Professor, and he's just ripping apart some crazy history. You've got the dancing plague in there from France, the 1500s. You've got the Great Emu War, the Molasses Flood in America in the early 1900s, and they do it in such a clever way that you're learning history but having fun at the same time. So definitely check out Watcher. I'll put a link down in the description. So I gotta think now. Last little thing. Yes, I want to move on to doing my haikus as shorts. I'm still getting used to YouTube. So if you think that's a good idea, or if you want me to do some like speed read poetry, just for the shorts, like I said, I'm still trying to get my head around it. Just let me know, especially just let me know on Instagram, because I focus my time on there. I do a little bit of Twitter, but yeah, anything to sort of get my stuff out there. I really want to sort of like spread the word of how wonderful poetry is. So anyway, guys, thank you again for listening, and I really hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you check out the guys I've talked about. So I'm going to send you much love, much peace. Good night, guys.